This video is now in session, and in this video we're going to specifically talk about Maya Wiley and progressives as well as crime in the New York City mayoral election. So, Maya Wiley is the progressive, or at this point has become the progressive candidate to beat out of all of the progressives. Now, there are three total progressives running for New York City mayor, and they are Scott Stringer, Diane Morales, and as well as Maya Wiley. Now, all three of these candidates are progressive candidates. Scott Stringer used to be the progressive frontrunner until two women came out and said that Scott Stringer sexually assaulted them. So as a result, Scott Stringer, in terms of the polls, he started to fall down. You can see him in this light green color, this lime color, where his top point was here, and then he started to slump. Meanwhile, with Diane Morales, if we can find her in the polls, we can see that she's also slumped because of her campaign, because of her inability to show that she's able to be able to have the rhetoric and to be able to have the voice that you will have to have if you're trying to lead people. So as a result, we have Maya Wiley. Maya Wiley originally was not that high in the polls. She was behind Scott Stringer, but because of endorsements by progressive candidates, she has become the sole, she has become the leader of the progressive block of the Democratic primary. So now we have Maya Wiley, who's starting to shoot up in polls. And if we see this last poll right here, Maya Wiley ends up in second place, with Andrew Yang ended up in third place with 27% of the vote, which is pretty unfortunate for Andrew Yang, but that's another video we can talk about in the future. So Maya Wiley has at this point propelled to second place in this poll by Emerson College, and that means there are a total of 4 frontrunners: Eric Adams, Andrew Yang, Maya Wiley, and Catherine Garcia. These 4 candidates are up at the top, and they have been for some time now. But Maya Wiley is actually having a chance of winning the New York City mayoral election. Now, there's a very tough challenge ahead of her. There are only a couple of weeks left. Actually, as of recording this video, there's only just a couple of days left until there's only a couple of days left until the New York City mayoral election will happen. So the question becomes now is, can Maya Wiley defy all expectations and be able to have and be able to overtake Eric Adams as first place? That's a very hard question, and one that's very unlikely to succeed because of all the political dynamics that are happening in New York at this current moment. New York currently is facing one of the highest crime rates in a very long time. So as a result, there are a lot of people who don't want a progressive candidate who wants to supposedly defund the police and go back, or like not go back, but rather hamper what the police can do, since there's a high level of crime in New York City. And as a result, that's why you have candidates like Eric Adams and Andrew Yang, who are both conservative Democrats, trying to win this election, and both of them are pretty high up in the polls. It's because both of them want to go against crime and want to use the police in order to get to that point, which is pretty popular with New Yorkers. And that's why progressives haven't really been able to shine in this race, because of how progressive New York already is. New York has a progressive mayor, Bill de Blasio. He's very progressive, rose taxes for the wealthy in his mayoral, in his not presidency, in his in office. He has hampered on police. He has been pretty controversial among New York. And ultimately, it seems like that Bill de Blasio is going to be the he's going to be part of the main focus for a lot of these candidates. But for Maya Wiley, if she wants to be able to win the election, she has to be able to go against all of these other candidates and then prove to New Yorkers, I guess New York Democrats, why she is not bad for New York, because there will be questions about her defunding the police and going too far on certain things, because New York City has shown a limit as to how far they will go to the left. And Bill de Blasio at this point seems like the furthest left that New Yorkers want to go. And at this point, they actually many New Yorkers may seem like they want to go back to being a little bit more of an establishment, to more of an establishment Democrat, or even more of like a conservative Democrat like Eric Adams. And it's not surprising of New York. New York has done this before with Michael Bloomberg and as well as Rudy Giuliani. Both of these candidates have won in the New York City mayoral election. You can see here in the 1997 election, Rudy Giuliani won that one as a Republican. He was able to get Manhattan. And then you can see here 2001, Mike Bloomberg won it as a Republican, won it again in 2005 and 2009. And you can see here that Bill de Blasio was able to change that when Mike Bloomberg was out of office. And now we come to a stage where Democrats are most likely going to win this in this race, but it's a question of who. And Maya Wiley at this certain moment doesn't seem like she's going to be able to pull out. If she had maybe 2 more weeks, it might have been better than this at this current moment. I'd say though that if it had been 4 weeks earlier that Maya Wiley was starting to shoot up in polls, it would have been worse for her because there are a bunch of debates where people can go against Maya Wiley. And in terms of debates, there's really only one debate left at this point, and that's the NBC4 debate with the NYC votes, and that will be just 1 week before the election, June 16th. That's 6 days before the June 22nd primary season for the Democrats in New York. And and this debate will, I guess, cement the front runners. It will also cement whoever will be most likely able to win in the election. Andrew Yang at this point is currently facing a lot of headwind, and he's actually in the same position as Maya Wiley is. Andrew Yang finally is. It's kind of like, I guess, if there's an analogy to use for Andrew Yang, I know this is a video about Maya Wiley, but if there's an analogy to use with Andrew Yang, it would be like Joe Biden when he lost in Iowa. He didn't even get second place, where he lost, where his campaign started slumping. And that's at that point, that's the same kind of point that Andrew Yang is facing. The thing is, though, the New York City mayoral primary is not like the Democratic presidential primary, so it's very hard for Andrew Yang to shoot back up into first place against Eric Adams. But we'll have to see if Andrew Yang can turn out low propensity voters in the Orthodox Jewish community, and if Maya Wiley can turn out the progressive vote to go in her favor, because both candidates are facing the same kind of challenges. Maya Wiley has to be able to turn out her voters, which is pretty hard to do at this moment. Andrew Yang has to turn out his voters, which at this point is a little bit hard to do based on the past 2021 mayoral elections where turnout has been lower than usual. So that's what's happening with the New York City mayoral election, with crime, with Maya Wiley in her position, and a little bit about Andrew Yang. So that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. This video is now adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.